Yeah.
Germans love their drink.
So when I and my environmental anxiety moved here almost 2 years ago,
we pictured the worst.
But it turns out that some of the best drinkers in the world are also the world's best recyclers. Almost 99% of bottles go back into the system.
I think recycling is very important. I love it.
Yes, I teach my kids to recycle already.
Germany is really a success story.
Bottles are among the most common pollutants around the world that all countries have been struggling to contain.
Germany seems to have cracked the code. So why aren't other countries around the world doing the same?
There are a few concerns, and then there are a few excuses.
And is this the solution to the global plastic crisis?
The dreaded plastic bottle. That's come to symbolize our disastrous impact on the planet.
And it is really bad. Around the world every day, almost 1.5 billion plastic bottles are sold. And Germany, where I live, is hailed as having the best system to deal with these bottles.
The system is called Pfand as an overarching term.
Henriette Schneider is from Environmental Action Germany, which studies and supports the Pfand, or deposit return system for plastic and glass bottles.
In itself, that deposit system works really well. Close to 0 units of beverage packaging end up actually in the environment or stay in the environment. And that's really positive.
Keeping plastic and glass out of nature was one of the main reasons the German government introduced the deposit return system in 2003. Another was to incentivize a shift to a more environmentally friendly beverage packaging market overall. Here's how it works. Manufacturers make the bottle and a deposit is worked into its cost. They sell the bottle to wholesalers or retailers, who sell it on to the consumer. When consumers have drunk their drinks,
time to win my money back.
They carry them to the store or one of the country's 48,000 reverse vending machines.
It's actually really heavy. I need a break. Woo.
These accept most kinds of bottles.
Ew. Oh, ew. It's pretty messy. I'm rich.
For the 25 bottles I took in, I got back around €3.50.
Most people only do it for the sweet reward at the end.
Of all the bottles collected on the other side, around 40% of these are refillable, which means they get cleaned, refilled and sold again. Refillable plastic bottles can be used up to 20 times, and glass bottles can be used up to 50 times in Germany. The remaining are single-use bottles. These have around double the deposit cost built in, with the hope that customers will be disincentivized from buying them. The problem with single-use bottles is that at best they can be recycled, which uses a lot of energy and reduces their value. Only a quarter end up as new bottles. Others are downcycled into fibers or other material, exported or simply burnt. Even considering the collection, washing and transport that refillables require, each single-use bottle can have more than double the carbon footprint of a refillable one over its lifetime. One reason the deposit system has largely worked is because you are never more than a few minutes away from a supermarket or shop that takes them back. And retailers can make money from it. Those that collect bottles can decide whether to recycle them themselves or send them on to recyclers, and they pick the more profitable option.
Coca-Cola is getting around in big 2-liter plastic bottles these days.
Pepsi-Cola's new 2-liter plastic bottle is 25% lighter than glass.
The big single-use packaging push started in the global north in the 80s and 90s when the consensus was that plastic was the lightweight savior that would replace fragile glass bottles. When environmentalists raise concerns, different governments try to contain their mess in different ways, from schemes like producer pays to the green dot system. Germany's environment minister at the time, Jürgen Trittin, decided the country needed something more radical. And so, against resistance from beverage lobbies, including court challenges, he set today's deposit system in motion. Trittin's decision was so well received and he was so proud that in his side gig as a DJ, he calls himself DJ Dosenpfand, aka DJ Deposit. Most other Western countries have still been unable to stand up against pushback from beverage corporations.
It's cheaper for them because they go for a material that is very cheap and lightweight. Today, oil prices are quite low. The plastic is very lightweight. So you only pay for the production of that, and then you don't care.
Jean-Marc Simon and his colleagues push for better waste management policies around the world. Right now, around 20 countries, mostly in Europe, have some version of the deposit scheme. And some states in the US and Australia are experimenting with it on a local level. Other countries like Indonesia and Ecuador have tried different methods, including exchanging plastic bottles for bus tickets. After public pressure, Scotland has been the latest to implement the deposit system. The UK Parliament was close to making a decision but postponed it. Critics in the EU say the plastic lobby still plays a big role in stalling such decisions.
And what we have seen is that they have been opposing as well the introduction of new deposit systems. There's a proposal from the government to pass a law to implement deposit systems, and the night before the vote in the parliament, the minister will get a phone call from the industry representatives, and the proposal will be removed, and the opportunity will be missed.
A leaked internal memo from Coca-Cola caused a scandal when it made their strategy to oppose deposit systems clear in writing. This trend of corporations pushing single-use into the market has moved to the global south, where until recently, bottles have largely been refillable. Weaker waste management rules have also led to many cities looking like this.
So definitely the corporations have kind of utilized this opportunity, and they have totally shifted from these methods that earlier were practiced.
Siddharth Singh is a waste management researcher in New Delhi. Like many countries in the global south, waste production is growing fast in India, and the formal systems have not been able to catch up, even if they are trying.
Collection rates are very high. Collection efficiency in India is over 90%. Most of the waste gets collected, but the problem is most of it gets collected in a non-segregated manner.
Informal waste collectors play a large role in South and Southeast Asia and Africa. When they pick out plastics from unsegregated waste, it is often contaminated, which means its recycling value and the amount that can be recycled are significantly lowered. Western countries also often export their waste to developing countries, which adds to the burden. Back in Germany, one reason the streets do look cleaner is the deposit system. It also means that uncontaminated waste with a recycling value gets systematically collected. But has it met its other initial objective of moving towards a greener system? Research shows that since 2003, the share of plastic refillables on the market has actually significantly dropped. One reason is that supermarket giants have had the financial power to stick to single-use in order to streamline the return process. But also, as drinks producers have seen profits from unclaimed deposits grow, they have been incentivized to shift towards those with higher built-in deposit costs, the single-use bottles. Many are suggesting tweaks in the system.
One effective sanctioning mechanism would, for example, be a levy of 20 cents on all single-use beverage packaging.
A tax paid on each bottle could force corporations to rethink their strategies. The fact that a major shift hasn't happened yet is one reason that other countries aren't doing what Germany is. But there are still some big takeaways that other countries can implement.
One is to make the take back as universal as possible. In Germany, for example, supermarkets are obliged to take back all single-use packaging of the materials that they sell. Then the deposit amount is really important, and that's also individual for every country. So the deposit amount should obviously be an incentive for consumers to actually bring back beverage packaging.
Countries in the global north, including Germany, still produce much more packaging waste than those in the global south. So the most environmentally friendly solution would be to reduce that. Second place goes to refilling and then recycling.
For my part, I've started carrying my own water bottle, so I at least reduce the amount of waste that I create. On a state level, of course, you can push for policies like Germany's that have proven to work for reducing and reusing bottles. We try to bring you great ideas from around the world, and if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and tune in every Friday.